have unique experiences as a child of immigrants, and so that's been a challenge. When I first got elected, that was in 2019, and I was only 29.
Yeah.
And back then I didn't have the beard you see on my face now, and so I'd go into rooms, pretty important rooms with some high-level government officials and whatnot, and they'd think I was the intern. Right? And they'd be like asking me for coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, like this whole imposter syndrome thing, we need to get past it because as far as I know, Asian Americans built this country just as much as anyone else. Right? We own it, and we belong here.
Why hello there food lovers and welcome to The Hungry Immigrant. I'm your host Abang Brian, a chef, food researcher, reality TV star and a guy who believes that every dish tells a story. This is where we uncover the stories behind the flavors, the people shaping our culinary world and the dishes that bring us all together. From hidden street stalls to Michelin-starred kitchens, we dive into tastes, traditions and untold stories of food across borders. So grab a seat, bring your appetite and let's feast on culture, one bite at a time. From cracking eggs to cracking ceilings, today's Hungry Immigrant guest has done it all. Sam Cho is the son of Korean immigrants who arrived through the port of Seattle in the 1980s. Decades later, their son would rise to lead that very port, becoming its youngest and first person of color to serve as president of the commission. Along the way, he's navigated imposter syndrome, anti-Asian hate, and the high-stakes world of trade and policy, while also opening a family-run boba tea shop in Seattle. In this conversation, Sam opens up about identity, representation, and what it means to serve a community that once welcomed his parents with open doors. This is the story of Sam Cho, public servant, entrepreneur, and a hungry immigrant at heart.
Okay, so we are on another episode of The Hungry Immigrant, and I am in Seattle. More specifically, I'm at the Port of Seattle, and I have with me someone who is very interesting to be on this show. I think in the past we've had chefs, we've had cookbook authors, we've had waiters. I think you're going to be the first port commissioner, president of commission of the port, slash boba tea shop owner, slash child of immigrants, slash all the slashes, right?
I love it, yeah.
So I have Sam Cho with me. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
For people who do not know who Sam Cho is,
Yeah.
what is the most important thing about the work that you do?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I would characterize myself as a public servant. I've spent most of my career in public service and government, in and out. I did some entrepreneurial things as well.
Yeah.
But for the most part, my passion is to serve the public and do good.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were the youngest person to be named port commissioner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then you were the youngest and the first person of color
That's
to
right.
be named president of the Port Commission.
That's right. That was in 2023. So the port was founded in 1911, and I was the first person of color to be president of the port in 11 years. Yeah.
I think little boys and girls out there who look like me and you, listening to this, tuning into this, is something that is touching, and it's very important because representation matters,
Absolutely.
right? Because if we saw Superman as someone who probably had small eyes like us, we would believe that we could be Superman.
Absolutely. Yeah,
right? So thank you for what you do.
No, absolutely.
But what has been the challenges that you face, and what have been the surprises along the way of being, the first person of color, being so young?
Obviously, there's not a lot of people in politics or policy that look like me. I've actually been the benefactor of having mentors that did this before me,
Right.
who have mentored me throughout the years to get to where I am today. But one of the challenges is it's really hard to navigate, especially as a second generation child of immigrants. I have unique experiences as a child of immigrants, and so that's been a challenge. I think the other challenge, initially, maybe not so much anymore, was when I first got elected, that was in 2019, and I was only 29.
Yeah.
And back then I didn't have the beard you see on my face now, and so I'd go into rooms, pretty important rooms with some high-level government officials and whatnot, and they'd think I was the intern. Right? And they'd be like asking me for coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, like I'm the commissioner, and you're here to meet with me, right? And so
I will
feel
get you coffee, but
yeah. I'm a public servant. I'll get you the coffee, but just know who you're talking to, right? And so I think that was a challenge for me, and I think part of it was growing into the role, making sure that I own the space.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been interesting. When I first got elected, we went right into the COVID-19 pandemic, so that was obviously very challenging, and facing all the anti-Asian hate in 2020 and 2021, 2022, I feel like I was called to step up as a elected official, as a local leader, to make sure that we are standing up for a community. So I think that was one of the more earlier challenges that I faced as a port commissioner.
And what was the surprising thing that you learned along the way? Something that you didn't know that, oh my God, I have to do this?
Yeah, well, I think that just taking ownership and really growing into leadership role,
Yeah.
right? I think I still suffer from imposter syndrome sometimes. Being 29, being a commissioner, becoming the president of the commission at such a young age, sometimes you really struggle to own it.
Right.
And so I really had to learn to embrace it and grow into that leadership position. And I don't know what it is about Asians and imposter syndrome, but even today, I think I struggle with that.
Let's backtrack a little bit. I read somewhere something about eggs.
Yeah.
What was the story about the eggs?
Oh, yeah. So prior to running for office, I had a company called Seven Seas Export.
Right.
Seven Seas Export was a trading company. Back in 2016, there was a really bad outbreak of avian influenza or bird flu, kind of like what happened in the United States in the last year.
Yep.
And egg prices in Asia, like in particular Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, tripled overnight, essentially. And there was a huge egg shortage because they started to kill off the chicken flocks to stop the spread of bird flu.
Yep.
And so what happened was, in Korea in particular, they reduced their tariff rate on egg imports from 23% to 0%.
Wow.
And so all of a sudden, the government started subsidizing the shipping costs to bring eggs into the country. So they were so desperate for eggs, they were really trying to stimulate imports. And so I saw that, and I basically said, maybe I can export American eggs. And so I started cold calling egg farms across the country.
Okay.
And the first farm that picked up my phone and took my request was a farm right here in this region in Washington. And I grew up here.
Right.
So it was like the perfect match. I flew over and I struck a deal with them to export eggs. And I know you're in the food industry, so eggs are used in so much, in pastries and
everything.
Yeah. And so what I did is, a lot of people think that I exported shelled eggs, but I didn't export shelled eggs. Because shelled eggs are hard to transport, obviously, especially across the ocean on a plane. So what I actually did is I cracked the eggs, and I sold and shipped the egg whites, the egg yolk, and the mixed eggs. And the reason that was great is because if they're already cracked, you don't need to worry about them being fragile.
And you can pasteurize them.
And you can pasteurize them, exactly. Yep. And you can blast freeze them for 3 days, frozen solid, put them in a container, in a reefer, a refrigerated container, and ship them across the ocean for 2 weeks. And so what I ended up doing is, instead of going the B2C route, which is selling to supermarkets, grocery stores, or everyday consumers, I actually shipped and sold to businesses that use eggs as an ingredient in their own products. So hotels, bakeries, mayonnaise manufacturers, ice cream manufacturers, I mean, you name it, right?
Yeah.
And they loved it because they can just rip open the packs and, throw the eggs in with anything they're making. So it was a creative way to get around some of the logistical challenges. And there's another thing about this business that was so perfect. As you know, when chickens lay eggs, they're not all the same size.
No.
The government regulates the size of the egg that gets to go to the supermarket.
Right.
But chickens lay big eggs, small eggs. And so these farms, they grade the eggs, they sort the eggs based on size. And they send all the ones that are the perfect size to the supermarkets, but then they have all these reject eggs that are too big or too small. But why do I care?
Because you're all about inclusion, right?
Yeah, it's all about inclusion. I'm going to crack the eggs anyway.
Yeah.
So I would buy the reject eggs at below market rate.
Right.
And then I would crack, package, freeze, make them a premium product, and export them. So there's always a really healthy margin in there. And so it was a great business. I exported like 2.5 million pounds of eggs in 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a lot of soufflés. And so how did you jump from eggs to the port commission? Was it because you were always dealing with the export? Part?
So before I started my company, I had a stint in government in Washington, D.C. I started my career in the State Department as an analyst, and then after grad school, I worked for a member of Congress, and I worked on foreign affairs, trade, and defense issues. And so I worked on trade policy. That's how I was able to track what was happening in Korea and Asia. And then the last 2 years in D.C., I worked for President Obama as a political appointee in administration. So my experience was both in the public sector, in government, working on policies, and as an on-the-ground exporter. And so when my predecessor at the Port Commission decided she's retiring, people started calling me and saying, hey man, you have this great experience from DC, you do exports, you're like cookie cutter for the port. You should go run for the port. And man, I was 29. I had no intention of running for office. I was done with politics. Yeah, I left DC when Donald Trump got elected the first time in 2017. And I thought, okay, I'm done. I spent my entire 20s in politics. I'm done with this. I'm going to go make money in the private sector. And then in 2019, this opportunity presented itself. And, you know, I went for it. And here I am.
So a very real question
Yeah.
with a lot of puns intended.
Yeah.
You now being the president of the Port Commission, how do you navigate the whole situation with Trump being president and the whole, every day there's a new tariff, every day there's a new, I don't know what's going on. How do you manage it?
Yeah, it's tough. It's been a really challenging year. To be honest, we're still recovering from the first Trump administration when he started putting in tariffs.
Right.
Our container volumes here at the Port of Seattle have not recovered from the tariffs that were put in place on China back in 2018. And so this is really, this doubling down of this trade war with China is a double whammy for us. China's our number one trading partner here in the Pacific Northwest. All the Asia, like all the countries in Asia mostly, but it's China, Japan, Vietnam, South Korea. And right now, he's putting tariffs on all those countries.
Right.
And so it's been really challenging. I'm kind of a stoic, you know, you control what you can control and try not to stress about the things that you can't control. And I can't control the policies that Donald Trump is putting in place when it comes to tariffs. But what we can do is try and adapt and educate. And so when I talk about adapting, you know, back in 2018 when Donald Trump put the tariffs in on China, a lot of manufacturing exports shifted to Vietnam. Right? And Vietnam's exports exploded, right? And so trade is like a balloon. When you squeeze a balloon, the air doesn't disappear. It pops out somewhere else, right? And so we're trying to anticipate where that trade dispute or that instability in trade is going to pop out and, you know, go next. You know, I was talking to some of our importers here and they said, you know, they used to export everything from China. Now 70% of their goods come from Thailand.
Wow.
They shifted, right? And so we're trying to anticipate that. And then secondly, for a lot of the importers who are trying to get things from other countries, we're just educating them, making sure that they have up-to-date information so that when they bring something into the port, they know exactly what to expect.
So for a layman who's probably listening, right? Let's break it down really, really basic for someone who does not understand the word tariff, right? And sometimes I get reactions like, dude, is it really that serious?
It's serious.
How would you explain it to someone who doesn't understand this?
I feel like there's a huge misunderstanding around tariffs because Trump keeps saying they're going to pay the tariffs, they're going to pay the tariffs, China's going to pay the tariffs. But tariffs are a tax on everyday goods, and they're assessed when they come to the port. So literally when China sends something to the Port of Seattle, we look at the goods, we check it, and there's a tariff code attached to the classification of the good, and that's the tariff rate that you pay. And the importer is the one that pays it in the end, right? And so the importer is ultimately you. Because what happens is, let's just take a really simple example, Amazon. Amazon imports from China, right? Yes, Amazon as the importer will pay the tariff, but what are they going to do with that? They're going to pass that cost onto you because they're not going to let that eat up their margins, right? And so if there's a 30% tariff on a cable from China that Amazon pays, they're going to pass that 30% tariff onto you as a consumer, right? Now, on certain goods, maybe they'll reduce margin and eat 10% of the tariff, right? But the other 20% is going to go to the consumer. And so there is no debating the fact that tariffs are inflationary. It will raise prices. And it's going to happen all across the board because Donald Trump's policies are blanket tariffs. He's saying that he's going to put tariffs on all goods from China, all goods from Japan, all goods from Korea. A good trade policy will pick out goods, specific goods like automobiles or steel or something, and assess tariffs on specific goods
to perhaps like give advantage to the local producers.
Exactly. So you want to be strategic with your tariffs. That's how tariffs should be used. But this guy is being lazy and just saying we're just going to tax China on everything, right? And if you think about the goods we import from China, right? They're not like Louis Vuitton bags. They're the products you find in Walmart, right, or Costco.
Or that little component like the wire.
The wire. Yeah. And so this is going to affect middle income and low income families the most, right? And so it's regressive. it's essentially a flat tax on goods, on consumers, and it comes out of the pocket of everyday Americans.
Wow. And what people don't know is that once that hit the person who is buying the product, it may be a wire, it might just think of your restaurants. They use wires, they use pots, pans that probably come from
Absolutely.
China, and it's going to raise everything. And I feel that. I feel the price going up. Like,
absolutely.
like I told you, I just moved to America 1 year ago, and I can feel it.
Yeah.
I can literally feel it because I do most of the grocery shopping for my
yeah.
household. So I will take time to actually go to different marts and whatever,
Yeah.
not just to get different things.
Yeah.
And I see it inflating.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, wait, I used to be able to buy 2 bags of food. Now it's, I'm not going to exaggerate, 1 bag, but like, I have half a bag less.
Yeah.
I can feel it.
Yeah, I mean, and cost of living is one of the biggest issues that Americans care about right now, and these tariffs are not helping. So it's unfortunate.
Okay. So before the eggs, Obama administration. But let's backtrack way before that. You said you grew up in Washington. Was it Kirkland?
Yeah, so my parents first immigrated to Fremont, Seattle, which is a neighborhood north of downtown Seattle. They were dry cleaners. Towards the end of my elementary school, middle school days, we moved to the east side in Kirkland. So I consider Kirkland my home.
But you were born in Chicago.
I was born in Chicago, yeah. Yeah, I was born in Chicago because my mom's sister lived in Chicago and she wanted to be near family. But I never lived in Chicago. We basically moved to Seattle as soon as I was born.
Yeah, and like for you, because obviously this is the hungry immigrant, right? Where it's hungry for stories, food stories. What was it like growing up for you? What was the food stories?
Yeah.
What were the smells that you grew up with? Did you grow up with the David Chang story of, I was so embarrassed to invite friends over because they would say my house stink?
Well, honestly, I was never embarrassed to bring friends to the house because they were my friends, right? But I feel like everyone has their lunchbox moment at school. I vividly remember mine. It was 4th grade. My mom had made me keranmari, and I remember I opened the Tupperware, and the girl next to me literally was just like, "Ew, what is that?" And I was so embarrassed. My mom does not know this. I literally just went to the trash can and threw it out.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even eat it. I was so embarrassed, right? And after that, I asked my mom, "I don't want to sack lunch anymore. I want to eat school food lunch." And that's when I started getting fat. But personally, I love Korean food. My mom is an amazing cook.
But when did you start like re-embracing, or was it just a school lunch thing in front of everyone else?
Yeah, I think obviously through high school that continued. I would eat school lunch. So I really started to embrace and also miss because I always got Korean food for dinner. My mom always cooked.
Right.
That's the one thing my mom always did. Right. And we had some really good dishes at home. My mom always made a soup, and we always had an entree. And so I always had. But when I went to college, I was away from home, and I think that's when I first started to acknowledge and recognize how much I missed Korean food, and in particular my mom's cooking. And so that's when I started to kind of appreciate that a little more. Yeah, and sometimes absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? Is that what they say? And so for me, when I left home and I was, eating all this junk food in the college cafeteria, I used to like rent a zip car. And I used to drive to I went to school in DC, right? So I used to drive to Annandale.
Annandale!
Yeah, Annandale or Centerville. Go to Honey Pig, or Iron Age or something like that, and get my fix of Korean food on weekends because I craved it so much. And every once in a while, my mom would come visit, and she'd always make the banchan and everything that the kalbi and stuff like that. She'd leave it in the fridge. So for a little while, it kept me going, but obviously it would eventually run out.
Have you ever cooked Korean food?
I'm not a very good cook, and I think it's better if I don't cook Korean food. Although I would love to learn, and I certainly hope that someday I can learn all my mom's recipes because they're amazing. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so this is just a intermission segment on the show. So this is the hungry questions. Kimchi jjigae or bulgogi?
Kimchi jjigae.
TSA pre-check or global entry?
Global entry because it gets you pre-check. that's the T.
That's a T. No one knows. Favorite airport in the world and least favorite?
Favorite airport is probably my airport, Seattle Tacoma International Airport. Although Changi in Singapore is pretty nice, and Incheon is pretty nice too. You can't really beat the Jewel in Singapore. But my least favorite airport, every time I go to LAX, I have the worst experience, man. That horseshoe is the worst airport design in the world. I don't know whose bright idea that was, but it's so bad.
Best meal in Seattle under $10.
Oh, under $10, Seattle dog. You gotta get a Seattle dog.
Wow. What's one Korean dish you still can't cook but you wish you could?
Oh, I mean, it's got to be like a kalbi, or I'm a sucker for some sonongtang, which is like oxbone soup. It's great for hangovers.
One food you hated as a kid but love now.
Oh, I actually couldn't eat sushi as a kid.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was because the texture, the slimy texture
Yeah.
of raw fish, and so I couldn't keep it down. But now, I mean, it's kind of blasphemous, right? I'm from Seattle.
Yeah.
But now I love seafood. I love salmon. I'm a salmon fanatic. But yeah, when I was a kid, I couldn't do that.
Guilty pleasure airport snack.
Oh man, it's got to be rating the chocolate chip cookies in the Amex lounge.
If you could have dinner with anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would it be?
You know, I worked for the guy, but I never got to have dinner with him. Barack Obama, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Been in rooms with him.
Yeah.
We've shook hands, but I just think he's a cool guy.
President Barack, if you invite him for dinner,
Please.
I will cook for you guys.
Oh, wow. We got to take him up on that.
Now let's go fast forward.
Yeah.
So suddenly there is a boba tea shop appearing. How, what, when?
We're really going forward here, but like one of my retirement plans
Okay.
is to teach at a university and run a tea shop. And so I've kind of just brought forward this idea of running a bubble tea shop. But if I were to be honest, the bubble tea shop I decided to do now because I actually lost my dad to a heart attack 3 years ago now. And after losing my dad, we really wanted to do something as a family, my brother and my mom. And so we decided to open up a bubble tea shop. And it's called Social Tea, short for Social Impact Tea. And part of what we do is we donate part of our proceeds to a local community-based organization.
Okay.
And so we've been open for almost a year now.
All right.
And it's been an interesting experience, very different from running an egg export
That's what I was going to
business.
ask you.
Yeah.
Like, how does that compare?
Well, I mean, you know, when I was running my egg business, the farmers did most of the work. Right?
Yeah.
I would just put in a purchase order,
Yeah.
arrange a truck to pick it up, arrange a container to be shipped out. Obviously, a bubble tea shop is so much more work. There's obviously the back end work, the front end work. I mean, just the design and architecture and architecting and all that stuff was an experience that I had not gone through. And then just the day to day of, you know, managing employees and stuff like that. And so it's a unique challenge, and I don't think I was quite ready for it, but you know, I'm learning and we're getting there.
Yeah. What was the biggest boo-boo you have made so far?
My biggest boo-boo was I thought everything needed to be perfect in order to start marketing. So I opened,
Yeah.
and then we were still kind of like working things out and stuff like that, but it was so slow because no one knew we were there. No one knew we existed, and our location is great.
Yeah.
And so we would get natural foot traffic, but no one would like come looking for us, right?
Yeah.
And so I started our marketing campaign a little late, and now we're just now starting to really get underneath that and put ourselves out there. But I do regret not marketing it. You know, most people are like, you know, coming soon, or like, or put articles out there that are like, a new shop is coming to Capitol Hill, right?
Yeah.
I didn't really do any of that. And so I learned, and I should know this as a politician, that it's all about marketing, right?
Yeah,
It's all about
yeah.
optics. It's not too late. It's never too late to market.
Let's not assume that everyone listening know what boba tea is.
Yeah.
What is boba tea? What makes it a good boba tea?
Well, obviously, you got to have fresh tea.
Yeah.
Our three base teas are black tea, oolong tea, and jasmine green tea. Boba tea in particular is milk tea. You're flavoring.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a syrup. Sometimes it's a powder. We don't use powders. And then tapioca. These days, there are so many different types of toppings. Like tapioca is the classic black balls, but then you have lychee jelly, you have popping boba,
Yep.
you have crystal boba. They even have coffee jelly now.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of variety there. But really, I think the ingredients you use is really important, how fresh the tea is, the flavoring you use. We use oat milk at our bubble tea
Right.
shop because we want to be conscious of the vegans and the lactose intolerant folks, and so we only use oat milk, which I think a lot of people appreciate. And we also have matcha, which is crazy these days, by the way. Everyone wants a matcha these days.
What's your favorite boba tea?
So I'm a pretty classic guy.
Yeah.
I actually like our strawberry matcha at the tea shop. It's like good earthy matcha taste plus some sweet strawberry taste,
Yeah.
which is a good balance. But yeah, the classic milk tea. We have something called the night sky, which is something we kind of made up, but
Right.
it looks like a night sky, and it tastes like a Jolly Rancher.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's like a mix of different fruit syrups, but
Yeah.
it's really nice.
Okay, so we were initially supposed to shoot this in his tea shop.
Yeah.
So I was like waiting to raid the tea shop and get some boba tea.
Next time.
However, because we don't have some boba tea, I brought something for you to
Oh
try
wow,
instead.
really?
Okay, so this is called the Sambal Survey. Okay, so this is the Sambal Survey where I travel the world with 3 different sambals. So sambal is just a spicy condiment that comes from Malaysia,
okay.
and it can be made out of different things. So I could write, for example, a cooking book with 100 different sambals.
Wow.
But usually the base is like chilies, onions, garlic, and then depending on what is in season or what you're eating it with, you make a sambal. So
wow, okay.
the colors ranges from green to red to black.
Wow.
Yeah, so it depends on what you use to make the
Okay.
sambal,
I
right?
can do
So
spicy.
these are just basically the basic sambals
Okay.
that I've brought for you. 3 different sambals. I just want you to taste. Tell us what you're tasting and which one is your favorite.
It's spicy. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see this being in some soups as a spice. Oh, interesting.
This one?
This was a little more fishy, I feel like.
And this one's more spicy, isn't it?
Yeah, slight. Oh, no.
Just wait.
It's getting,
Yeah.
it's getting spicier. But this has a fishy taste to it. I actually like this one as well. Again, I like this one better than the other one.
Okay.
Okay. Oh man, this looks intense. Hold on. This kind of tastes, it's a little more oily, and it kind of tastes like my mom's melchi, which is like a, I don't know how to describe melchi, but
I find
small
that
fish.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
So you know when you mentioned Annandale?
Yeah.
I actually interviewed the 3rd generation, the daughter of the owners of a chain of restaurants, Korean restaurant traditional, Shiru, Sorimara and all. They actually brought a lot of brands from Korea also.
Oh, really?
And whenever they tasted anything that's Malaysian, they said, oh my God, this is very similar to what
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have.
yeah.
Because we also like some like
Yeah, yeah.
fermented, fishy.
Yeah, so this one was a little fishy. Yeah, this tastes like a Korean, one of the Korean dishes, like one of the banchans actually.
Yeah.
Melchi, and then yeah.
So which one would you say is your favorite?
Oh man. Just on flavor profile, I think I like this one,
Okay.
and this is a close second, and then probably
Yeah.
that's the third.
Okay, I can tell you that one of it is made by me.
Uh-oh.
One is just store-bought from the shelf, and one is not even from Malaysia. So if you want to find out if Sam chose my sambal, make sure you check out the video
Oh, man.
portion of this podcast, which is on Spotify and on YouTube as well. But yeah, what's more important now is the next part of our show, which is called the Hungry Journal.
So, whenever I travel the world to record The Hungry Immigrant, I bring along something really special, the Hungry Journal. In the front, every guest of the show writes down a question they would like to ask other guests of the show, and in the back, they would leave a recipe that they feel should be part of a future cookbook called The Hungry Immigrant, which essentially is a collection that represents the Asian diaspora across the globe.
Right. So the question that's been left for you is actually left for you by Sao Ching Chow, who served as the head of the committee for the James Beard Foundation.
Yeah.
Her term just ended. She has 3 cooking books.
Wow.
The latest one she's written with her daughter, making Chinese American food accessible to all.
Yeah.
And her question to you: what soup or broth takes you home in one spoonful?
So earlier you made me choose between two soups, and I chose between those two. But for me, the answer to that question would probably be 된장찌개.
Okay, what is that?
Which is
term?
like a bean paste soup. So usually when you eat Korean food, the classic is like kimchi-jjigae or 된장찌개. And my mom has a very particular way of making that. And so I think 된장찌개 bean paste soup is probably the one. I know it doesn't sound great, but
Yeah.
it's actually really great.
Well, describe to us what is it? How does it taste like? What?
Well, how most people describe 된장찌개 is like the Korean version of miso soup, but it has a very unique flavor profile. Doenjang is like aged, right? And it's very, if you put it in those classic Korean clay urns and you put it in the ground and it ferments underground in the winter, and so that's how you know you get good doenjang. My mom has a way of doing it that incorporates some shellfish. And so there's like a seafood taste to it too. And so like I know there's nowhere else that can make doenjang like my mom's doenjang for sure. And
What's
so
your mom's name?
her name is Kathy. She goes by Kathy.
Auntie Kathy, you need to make this soup for me. It sounds delicious.
Yeah.
So we have come to the end of our show, but before that, what recipe would you recommend for us to include in the Hungry Immigrant Cookbook, and why?
If I could, I'd probably put in a recipe for kalbi. Yeah, I mean kalbi is classic.
Yeah.
I could eat kalbi any day.
Yeah.
I like my kalbi well done with a little bit of char. Kalbi with beef or even pork. There's pork kalbi too, and I actually prefer the pork kalbi. But yeah,
I like it when it's really charred though.
yeah, me too.
The char is
I
important.
used to get scolded by my mom because she's, oh, you're gonna get cancer.
Yes,
But I'm
it
like,
is.
"Oh,
It
yeah,
is.
yeah, I'll risk it.
You only live once, right?
Yeah. That's one of those YOLO things.
Okay, one question that comes from someone who I cannot name, right?
Okay.
They found out that I was going to sit down with you.
Yeah.
And they asked me to ask you this question. What advice would you give to young immigrants or children of immigrants who want to lead, serve, and stay true to their story?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, you need to know what you want to do. I think a lot of young professionals or people in their youth are so focused on where they want to work, right? And there's a very, very clear distinction between where you want to work and what you want to do. A lot of people talk about, oh, I want to go work for Microsoft or Amazon or Google. But
Which is not bad.
Which is not a bad thing. Look,
Before Amazon, Google, Microsoft
yeah.
also.
Hey, you know what? BCG, McKinsey, Bain, sure.
Yeah.
Right? But more important is the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
I had someone who once asked me that myself, like, what do you want to do? And I said, oh, I want to go work at the UN. And he said, I didn't ask you where you wanted to work. I asked you what you want to do. Even the janitor at the UN works at the UN. Would you go do that there? So focus first on what you want to do.
Yeah.
And then second, you got to find mentors. You have to find people who have done it before you. Chances are that when you first start your career, you're not going to be the first person to do it, right? There's always someone else, whether someone looks like you or not, who has done it before. And so your goal is to download as much as you can from what they did so that you're not starting from the very beginning, but ideally you're starting where they left off. If that's where you start, right, you will eventually and very naturally become the first to do something else because you're standing on their shoulders, right? And so you got to find good mentors, people who have done it before you, people who are willing to share that knowledge with you and not gatekeep it, right? And that's how you get to where you are. That's how I got to where I am. I'm here because of so many amazing people locally. People like Gary Locke, who's the first Asian American governor in the country, right? Ambassador to China, U.S. Secretary of Commerce, who took me under his wing and showed me how to do things. People like Norman Mineta, who was also a two-time cabinet member in 2 different presidencies, right? Those guys were willing to pass on their knowledge and know-how, right? And you know, as much as it's incumbent on them to pass that knowledge on to the next generation, it's on you as a young person to go seek those people out.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to come to you, you got to go to them.
Yeah.
And so be aggressive and unashamedly ambitious. Honestly, like this whole imposter syndrome thing, we need to get past it because as far as, I know, Asian Americans built this country just as much as anyone else, right? We own it, and we belong here. And so, yeah, live your truth, pursue what you want to do, and find the people who can get you there.
Talking about pursuing what you want to do.
Yeah.
So what's next for Samcho?
You know, in this world of elected office and politics, it's really hard to predict exactly what's next. But I'll just say I love the port. You know, my parents immigrated to this country in the 80s through the Port of Seattle. In 1985, my dad first came to this country, stepped foot at Seattle Tacoma International Airport. My mom stepped foot in this country, Seattle Tacoma International Airport, 1989. Full circle for our family, for their son to now be running
Didn't make me cry.
the Port of Seattle.
Wow.
So I'm just so blessed and fortunate to be in this position, and so I love it. My goal is to create jobs and opportunities in the same way that, my parents were given when I was growing up, and so any role that allows me to continue to create jobs, create opportunities for the next Sam Cho, or for the next family that comes up is one that I would totally be interested in and be more willing to do. But, as far as what's exactly next, who knows? I also think that I am not 100% wedded to the idea of being a politician.
Right.
I found that the best politicians, the best leaders are those who don't want it to be, but they're called to be. And they do it because they realize they can make a big difference. I'm still young, I'm 35. I can walk away from politics and do business and a lot of other things, right? And I think that every politician should have that mindset. And so I'm totally open to walking away from politics as well and doing something different, as long as it's still within my core values or my mission. So that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Before I end with my parting words, how can we stay up to date? Number one, to see if you continue on in politics or not. How do we support Social Tea? Where can we follow you and all the socials?
My Instagram is Sam H. Cho, one word. My TikTok is Sam Cho, all one word. My X is Sam Cho Tweets. I would love for you to come by Social Tea. It's on 1212 Pine Street in Capitol Hill. If you mention the Hungry Immigrant Podcast, we'll give you a discount.
Okay, definitely. We'll take you up on that. And with that, thank you very much, Sam Cho, for all that you do, all that you represent. It will inspire a lot of people, and I hope a lot of people will listen to this and share it with the younger generations, because we need this more than ever.
Thank you.
When people like us sometimes feel like we don't matter. So thank you.
Thank you.
And to all our listeners, as usual, I will always invite everyone to keep their plates adventurous and their hearts open. My name is Abang Brian. This is The Hungry Immigrant.
Terima kasih and thank you for joining us on another culinary journey. Just by tuning in, you're already helping us to keep our stories, our flavors, and our heritage alive. But the reality is, our culture is fast disappearing. And when we lose it, we lose a part of who we are. So if this episode resonated with you, I have just one small favor to ask. Hit that subscribe button and share this show. Talk about it with your friends, your family, or anyone who loves food, culture, and all the stories that bring us together. Let's keep these traditions alive, not just in history, but in our kitchens, our conversations, and our hearts. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Hungry Immigrant and my personal account at Abang Brian for behind-the-scene moments and extra bites from each episode. I'm Abang Brian, reminding you to always keep your plates adventurous and your hearts open.